Well, basically there was about 7 months of training with the cello where we kind of had this if I stayed cello that kind of traveled around the world with me and found me in every location I went to. So that was kind of this looming if I stay kind of feeling. So I trained with it every day for 7 months, like 2 hours a day, as much as I could. And honestly, you know, I'd be silly to say that in 7 months I learned such an intricate instrument. So really what it was learning the emotionality of it and kind of the passion that comes with being a cellist and how you kind of have to surrender your entire soul to this instrument as you play it. And you know, the technicality came more from the Frankenstein head cutting and putting it onto another person's body a little bit. That way it meshed the two sides of me perfectly.
One of the things that Chloe did was study the performances of the great cellists, which are available. You know, one of the remarkable things about the moment we live in is that you can research these things, and Chloe would study the cellists and in a way summon them. She learned about breathing, and she learned about the relationship between the cello and her body and all of those things. And that's what was so important and what was able to be communicated by her performance. Excuse me.
Great job. Ed?
Thank you.
Hi folks, congratulations on this. I'm not the demographic, as they say, for this film, and I really liked it. So
We don't think that's true, by the way. And
Oh, good.
we feel
You're right.
you all should know that. We do not think of this as a movie for teenagers or
I
for
liked it.
girls. We think about this as a movie for people who are in families, who have parents, who are parents, and we find that all of those people respond to the film and respond with a kind of full emotional impact. So please help us spread the word about that.
I agree. That said, one of my favorite moments in the film is when Mia turns to Adam and says, "When did you know you were going to play music?" So, for Chloe and for Jamie, when did you know you were going to act? That's for you and for everybody. The film is funny and happy and positive and very, very sad. Whoever wants to take this part, why do you think people like to go through sadness like this out of movies and reading books?
First questions first. I started acting when I was 5 years old, pretty much. I found it randomly through listening to my brother study monologues, and I auditorially started memorizing them for no reason, and started repeating them to kind of anyone that would listen to me. And then eventually I begged my mom to let me do whatever that meant, because I couldn't really even put into words exactly what that meant. It just made me happy. And then when I was 11 years old, I kind of looked to my mom and I was like, I kind of realized what I was doing, and I was like, wait, is there, like, could I make this something I could do for the rest of my life? And she was like, yeah, sure, if you want to. And I was like, okay, great. I think I might want to do this forever. And I think that was like the moment when I actually realized that I was doing more than just like gymnastics or tennis or something. Yeah.
I think I've always, from kind of a young age, had an active interest in it, and then I remember, I can't remember how old I was, but I watched Control, which is where Sam Riley played Ian Curtis, and yeah, that for me just was kind of amazing, and I thought, you know, how much fun would that be to do, and how hard that must have been for him to do, and I thought, that's when I thought, I think I'll give it a go. Still
Josh,
learning in a way.
Josh, what about you in acting?
I had a father who's a theater director and taught theater at Penn State, and when I was 6 years old, he cast me in a show he was doing called Life with Father, and I got to rehearse, and I got to stay out really late every night, and twice a week he would take me to Baskin Robbins, and I got to get ice cream on school nights. And I was like, this is definitely what I'm going to do for the
Ice cream.
And one of the things that Chloe and I talked about the very first time we got together to talk about this movie was the fact that, like Mia, she had discovered this great passion and gift at a very early age and had committed herself to it and spent her whole childhood really developing it and working really hard. And you know, it's something very real that she was able to bring to her portrayal of the character, and part of why I think it's such a powerful performance.
And I'm going to jump in with the whole, why do we like weepies? Why do we like sad movies? Because I kind of think that's being, I understand why people are asking that question, but I don't think it's actually what we really like. We don't really, it's not that we like sad movies that make us feel like, oh my God, what a bummer. We like emotionally moving experiences, and this is nothing new. I mean, this is catharsis. It goes back to the Greeks. And I think that we like movies and books that give us this emotionally moving experience where you feel like a slightly different person and you see the world a little different after you finish, because it lets you see your own life in a different way, and it actually makes you feel really good. So even though there might be sad content that is making this happen, I think the feeling that you're left with is actually one that is quite good and quite hopeful and clarifying and uplifting.
And our goal in this film, as we will all say, was to emulate the experience, respond to the experience, recreate the experience that we had when we first read the book. And that experience was a roller coaster. It was thrills and chills and spills and twists and turns and ups and downs and triumph and tragedy and laughter and tears. It was all of those things, and we of course hope that that's the experience the viewers have when they see the movie.
Chloe, you just mentioned, you started at 11 professionally, and now you're 17, and it seems like you, from our point of view, you've just gone right along, and now you're starring in these movies. You've become a movie star in the space of 6 years, and you're playing all these traumatized kids, basically, with dark places and carrying this. So, 2 questions. From our point of view, it looks so easy. How does it seem to you what this journey you've been on? And secondly, how tough is it to play these young traumatized women that you've been doing?
How hard has it been? It's been really hard. I have been working since I was 5 years old, and I kind of had everyone in my life and kind of in, outside my family kind of look at us and go, you're crazy. Take your kid out of the business, put them in school, because you're never gonna succeed. And that was kind of, my entire, being brought up. My mom was always like, look, if you love it, do it. If you're actually having fun, and I know my kid's having fun, she's gonna do whatever she wants. Whether that's gymnastics, whether that's learning the guitar, whether that's acting, whether that's just being a normal kid. She's gonna do whatever makes her happy, and that's kind of how I've always lived my life. And it's been hard for a number of reasons. I mean, I'm still fighting for every role that I get. You know what I mean? I'm still fighting the boundary of how old I can be or how young I can be, and how they want me to be something else that I'm not. And you're always constantly having to struggle, especially as a female actress, against the higher powers that are trying to kind of keep you in a spot which makes them feel comfortable. So that's kind of a major thing that I'm kind of battling with right now. And even though it's been hard, it's been easy in a way because I've always followed my heart. And with every project I've ever chosen, it's been something that I feel I couldn't live without. I couldn't spend another day in my life not knowing that I didn't do that role and give my all to that role and give all my emotions and soul to it. So yes, it's been hard, but it's also been incredibly uplifting and incredibly eye-opening. You know what I mean? I think without it, I wouldn't be quite the same young adult, young woman I am now. And then why do I choose the really dark roles? I think because I have quite a normal family, and I'm kind of bored with how normal my family is. I want to mess stuff up a bit. I want to mess stuff up a bit, and I choose the kind of messed up characters because I find that that's acting. You know what I mean? Is doing things and exploring emotions that you otherwise wouldn't be able to explore.
Thank you.
Hi, well, thank you for causing me to ugly cry both on the plane and in theaters. I appreciated it. Even though if I say it hasn't come out yet, have there been talks of the Where She Went sequel coming?
Gayle talks about it a lot.
Gayle talks about it a lot.
I'm kidding. We're so focused on this film, and let's hope we have that conversation to have. We just really want people to come out and see this movie, and that's 100% of our focus right now.
Shauna, how difficult is it to take a book that is so well loved, so well respected, and be responsible for the words that are in these actors' mouths?
I didn't feel so. I felt responsible to Gayle in the book and the experience I had, but honestly, when I read it, I come a little bit from a comedy background. So I thought the parents were so funny and so rich, and so many of the characters, like I fell in love with all the really funny moments, that it wasn't until I was like walking through it with the studio when I first started writing it that I went, oh, I'm writing like a tragedy. And so in a way, making it and focusing on the life parts of the story versus like the sad parts of the story kept me from kind of getting buried by the heaviness of it. So I just felt, I felt lucky and grateful to get to sort of protect, and as a, you know, when you have your own original screenplays, you sort of question yourself in different ways, but when someone else has already done the hard work and it's already been there and it's already been their baby, you can protect it a lot more because they've already given you the map, so you're very protective about what they've given you. So.
Right here?
My question is for Chloe. Your character and the Adam is kind of having hard time to think about a long-term relationship. So you are traveling so many places, and then you place, I don't know, New York or LA, but you have, how do you, what your thought about the long-term relationship and also friendship, and what did you learn from this, your own experience?
Well, I mean, I think I kind of come from the mindset that if you want it to work, it'll work. Whether it's a friendship or a relationship or whatever it is, if you're both in the same mindset that you guys want to be together and you want to make it work, you can make it work. It just is, you know, dedication and knowing that there might be some miscommunication and lack of communication sometimes. So I think, you know, I think Jamie and I both talk about this, how it's kind of like, you know, we're in a job where we spend, well, I mean, I spend like, you know, 11 months of my year not home. So it's kind of like you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. And even my best friends are like that. I've had all my best friends since I was like 9 years old. And they're kind of like, you're like our best friend, but, you know, we text more than we actually see each other face to face. So, you know, but they're still my best friends and they're still their best friends. So if you want to make it work, I'm pretty sure it can work.
Back there?
Back here for Gayle. I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about what the experience has been like for you to see your novel brought to life on the screen.
It's that roller coaster that RJ described. You know, at first I didn't believe that anybody would ever make first of all, I didn't believe it was going to be a book when I wrote it. I saved the file on my computer as why not, as in this is never going to be a viable book, but I really feel the need to write it, so why not? And then I wrote it, and then people seemed to be interested in reading it, and then there was talk about, you know, Hollywood, and I'm like, no way. And then it got optioned, and I thought, how's anybody ever going to take this crazy story that I've written with this structure that alternates back and forth with these non-chronological flashbacks, and a lot of, you know, the present tense happens internally in her head, you know, enter Shauna Cross, who knows how to write a screenplay, and so it went from there. I have to say, kind of the moment where I really just relaxed and knew that it was sort of going to happen in the right way was, it was twofold, and it was when Chloe came aboard. Because I don't know if you remember this, Shauna, but really early on we had said, who could play Mia? We were having those conversations, and you remarked that it's too bad that Chloe was so young, because this was, I think, in 2010, because she's such an extraordinary actress. And it took a few years for the project to make its way into production, but in those few years, Chloe became the perfect age. So when Chloe came on, there was that moment, like, here is an actress who is so diverse and has such depth and is very chameleon-like in her roles and who could handle the heavy lifting. And then I met RJ, and we had a coffee together and we had a conversation, and it was just at that moment that I knew that it was going to be made, and it was going to be made in a way that I wanted it to be made, which could be different from the book. I didn't want it to be a direct, like, page to screen exact, you know, replica, but I wanted the emotional experience. And after having that conversation and knowing the script that we had and Chloe, I kind of knew it was all going to kind of come together. So from that point on, it was really gratifying. It was just like, okay, it's in good hands now.
RJ, I was worried for a minute. I think when you read plots like this and synopsis, you worry that it's going to be a John Hughes film with mortality issues.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and you really focus on providing an optimistic.
I would watch that movie.
Me too.
But I was really impressed with how optimistic your view of what it is to be young. I think we're so used to seeing very cynical stories about young people today, and there's always that demand for edge. But this was a very positive look at what it is to be young in love, to be a family. And so for you, so, why is it important to have that kind of art out in the world? Because I think that was probably the one beautiful thing about the film, that it was optimistic, even though it was a tragic situation that involves the family.
Well, it's a really interesting question, I think, and it's not just the film's viewpoint and the book's viewpoint of being young. It's what the whole piece is about. It's a movie about life. It's not at all about death. And in every way we made the film, we were focused on the life side of it. I often get asked, well, how did you make the decision not to have Spirit Mia be transparent or float through walls or things like that? And it was clear to me the moment I read the book and thinking about the movie that she would be as real as possible, and we would respond to her as if she was real because she's having this real experience, and that to me was a way of making the story of what's going on with her about life, not about death. Similarly, the story of her life is a very affirmative one. It's a story of that great love that some of us are lucky enough to have or burdened enough to have at a young age. You know, my best friend in high school, when I was 17 years old, the phone rang at 6:30 in the morning, and it was my best friend calling me, and he said, "What's the name of that short girl who was in your play?" And I told him, and he said, "I just had a dream about her." And he said, "I have to meet her." It's 30 years later. They're married. They've got 4 kids. I have experienced what that. I got to see it up close. And when I read the book, I knew what Kat was talking about on New Year's Day when she said it's the real thing, and that's the love we wanted to portray. And I also, I know what it's like to be young and passionate about art. I discovered the theater when I was in 1st grade and started directing. I know what that is like, and I wanted to convey that as well. This is, and these guys have a remarkable family. And it's a remarkable family because even though they think to themselves that, and Mia thinks to herself that she's so different from everybody else, and she describes herself as a Martian, and she says she was switched at birth, they see each other. They know each other. What they care about is that they understand each other. There's that beautiful line in the film when Adam first meets Mia. He says, "I see you." That's what this whole film is about. And so that's all very affirmative stuff. It's not that I think it's important to get the message out about, a positive message. It's who these people are, and it's what this story is.
Of course, music plays such an important part in this movie. It's a character. Jamie, Josh, your musician's background. Jamie, was that really you singing? Josh, was that you singing?
Yeah, I've played the guitar since I was about 12, kind of pretty basically just alone in my bedroom. And yeah, in the build up to this, I just had a few lessons back home to make sure that I was kind of ready in terms of knowing the songs as well as I could, and then we recorded a bunch of the tracks over around 2 or 3 weeks before we started shooting. And yeah, then we had a bunch of band rehearsals with me and the boys before each concert scene, which was amazing and fun.
Did you like being a rock star?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was awesome. It was so good.
What guitar do you play at home?
I have a Gretsch Electromatic guitar, which is like a kind of a cheap version, but it sounds nice and it makes me feel like George Harrison for a little bit.
I am a terrible musician and have tried to learn time and time again, both for myself and for film roles. and it never really works out. I did
Go
get
on,
to
man.
take lessons, drum lessons, to prepare for this movie, and I'm evidently way better at banging on stuff than I am at finding musical chords. But you know, to speak to the larger issue of music kind of being the air that these characters breathe, and how much of a connection that is, you know, both between me and Adam and the Hall family and Mia, and even though they have such different aesthetics in music, from the classical to the parents who love punk rock, it's really a common ground that I think they find, the love of music.
And of course, it's what bonds Adam and Mia. They appear to be so different, but what they share, what Adam sees when he says he sees her, is that love for music, and that's what connects them. I'll tell a quick story. Two. One is that Jamie, you know, both of these guys are being a little much. Jamie may have just played the guitar in his bedroom, but when he came in and auditioned and performed for us, we were like, that's, in addition to the fact that he and Chloe had such wonderful chemistry, we were like, wow, he's nailing it on all fronts. Finding the guy to play Adam in this film isn't an easy thing. You got to find a great actor and a charming guy and someone who's got a connection with Chloe, and someone who's going to be a rock star. And when he came in, we saw that. And then when they got on stage the first time and performed and we were filming, we were all like, whoa, this is the real thing. So that was really exciting. And then when we filmed Josh's scene, Josh really did work so hard and took these lessons, and we shot the band, his band, playing one night, and it went so well. It was great, and I was like, cut, great, awesome, we've got it. And he came over to me and he was like, dude, I took so many lessons. Can I please have another take? So we gave him a couple more takes.
Right back there. Where's the mic? Right there.
This one's for Chloe. Hi. So the relationship with Jamie's character, I think that resonates for everybody. You know, that first love that's really intense. How did you bring that to life? How did you kind of draw on your life experience? Because you're young too. You know, was it at all awkward, and how did you do that?
You know, I mean, you know, everyone says you kind of have to draw from a modicum of kind of self-experience for roles, but sometimes, I mean, you know, love in particular, when you're creating a love story, when you're in relationships with people, not every relationship is the same, not every love that you find is the same. Every kind of love that you get from every different person, it's totally different types of it, and you kind of learn through each relationship that there are many different ways you can love someone. And I think with Jamie and I, we became good friends, and we were able to create this love relationship just by goofing around with each other and being silly and having a good time, and like rapping to Kanye, and like being, you know, being like, you know, kids, and just being fun on set, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's always awkward, you know, when you're having to like kiss someone, and then RJ's like, turn your head to the right, please. Like, make it look like you actually like each other. And we're like, like this. How do we look? Do we look good?
It worked though, right?
It worked though. Once we got it. You and John DeBorman, two men telling these two kids how to make out. It worked so well.
One more take, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creepy in any other arena except
Yeah, exactly. Any other arena would be really weird.
Why we love our jobs, because it's
Hi, good morning. This is for Jamie and Chloe. I want to know, because you are so young, if you believe in life after death, and what was the most difficult decision that you take in your life?
Okay.
He takes a big breath.
I mean, I don't know if I believe in life after death. I'd like to think that I do, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, I think I certainly believe in, you know, little things and little, I guess, signs of people kind of past who kind of come through the woodwork maybe now and again. Maybe, but I don't know. I'm not committing to that. And then, what was the other question? Sorry.
What was the most
the most difficult decision I've ever had to make.
Of your life.
See, I've been lucky. I've been really lucky now. I haven't really had kind of a lot riding on a certain decision. Maybe when I left, I decided to leave college after 6 months, you know, and just leave my education and go and give it a go and be just rebellious. My mum was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm leaving college." That's probably it, and that's pretty kind of boring, right?
No, that's not boring.
Do I believe in life after death? I think, here's what I find interesting about this movie in particular, to kind of keep it centered around, if I say, not just my religious beliefs or whatever else. I think what is interesting about this in particular is that even though it deals with life after death in this kind of, you know, middle ground area, it isn't religion based. And what I love about this movie is that you watch it without being force-fed Christianity or Catholicism or Confucianism or something else. I mean, you don't have one kind of religion being stuffed down your throat. You're kind of just understanding that there is a soul, there are beings, there are emotions, there are feelings, there's love, there's passion, and that exists post-accident, you know, post-death, etc., etc. And I don't even know if that deals with life after death or whatever else. I think it just deals with, these are incredibly real feelings that you feel, and they do continue on in a sense. So I don't really know if that answers the question, but I think it kind of comments on it a little bit.
The film definitely, you know, there's a spiritual dimension to it, and there are moments of the unknown. You know, there's that beautiful moment between Mia and Gramps at the bedside when she takes his hand and he looks her right in the eye and she says Gramps, and he can feel her. And we all know
And
that
with Teddy.
experience. And there's that great moment with Teddy where he swats the fly away, he doesn't know what it is, and then when Mia is saying goodbye to Kim, and also this, one of my favorite moments in the film is when we see Spirit Mia standing up overseeing the Labor Day picnic when everybody's playing, and it doesn't, it's hard to explain it, and yet it feels true in that kind of spiritual way that was very much in Gayle's book, even though none of those specific moments were in Gayle's book. That's a perfect example of a kind of cinematic translation of the emotional experience of the book.
What I appreciated was that the adult roles were all fleshed out, and they weren't just cookie cutter adults and everything. And you mentioned Gramps. I love the scene with Chloe and Gramps in the car. Can you talk a little bit about working with Stacy Keach? And then I have a nerd question for you. Have you seen The Last Kick-Ass? The last graphic novel.
The very last one. Working with Stacy was absolutely amazing. He's honestly such a genuinely good guy as a person. He is like so paternal and sweet and just kind, and so it wasn't hard to have this great relationship with him because I had this like peace in my heart for him from the time I met him, and so when you know, post, you know, after the car scene, when the hospital scene rolls by, I think we shot like double coverage on that, and I was so torn up. I like did not expect for him to drop that tear, and I was just like, man, like you killed me, and it was hard. I mean, he's like an amazing guy, and he really hit my heartstrings pretty hard. So, and I haven't yet.
What does this say about books to screen, movies, and bestsellers? Because now this book has taken another life of